Imagine a life without a refrigerator, no place to keep leftovers, no cold drinks waiting on a hot day, and definitely no ice cream stashed away. For most of us, this is unthinkable. Our modern world is so deeply rooted in the convenience of cold storage that the thought of managing without it feels nearly impossible. Yet, for the Amish, this is just daily life. These communities, known for their self-sufficient, technology-averse lifestyles, have mastered the art of preserving meat without a single watt of electricity. With techniques passed down through generations, the Amish have developed preservation methods so effective that they rival the performance of the best freezers. In a society overflowing with gadgets and smart appliances, the Amish shine as a testament to the efficacy of simpler, time-tested practices. Their preservation methods allow them to keep food not only safe but also flavorful, with some techniques even enhancing the taste of the meat itself. Take, for example, the practice of salt curing. Salt has been used for centuries as a way to preserve food, long before refrigeration was ever conceived. But the Amish have taken this basic technique and elevated it to an art form. For them, salt curing is not merely about keeping meat from spoiling, it's a near-sacred ritual, a process perfected through experience and intuition, refined over countless family gatherings and handed down through generations. Salt is a fundamental part of their food preservation strategy, as natural and necessary as sunlight and air. It's a way to ensure that the meat they work so hard to raise and butcher lasts for months without losing its flavor or texture. This isn't the casual sprinkling of salt over a dish. The Amish apply generous amounts to cuts of meat, coating every nook and cranny, drawing out moisture in a process that prevents bacterial growth and spoilage. By removing moisture, they make it nearly impossible for bacteria to survive, as these microorganisms thrive in wet environments. In a sense, the Amish have made salt their preservation superhero, a dependable ally that not only keeps meat fresh, but also enhances its flavor. There's a reason why the phrase "worth your salt" has stood the test of time. In ancient civilizations, salt was so valuable that it was sometimes used as currency, traded like gold, and cherished as a necessity for survival. Roman soldiers were even partially paid in salt, which gives us the word salary we use today. The Amish, by using salt as both a seasoning and a preservative, tap into this long-standing wisdom. When meat is thoroughly coated in salt, it undergoes a transformation, not just in its moisture content, but in its flavor profile. Salt draws out the natural taste of the meat, enhancing its depth and complexity. The first time I tasted Amish-cured ham, I was skeptical, could meat preserved without a fridge really taste that good? But the experience was a revelation. The ham was smoky, intensely flavorful, and far from dry. It had a taste unlike anything I'd ever kept in my freezer, a rich, savory profile that lingered long after the first bite. Yet salt alone doesn't always suffice, especially when the Amish need to ensure their meat stays fresh through changing seasons or during long transport. This is where smoking, another ancient preservation technique, comes into play. Smoking does more than add that beloved smoky flavor. It's an excellent method for dehydrating meat further, thus prolonging its shelf life. The Amish have mastered the nuances of smoking, treating it with the same care and attention to detail as their salt curing. Walk into an Amish kitchen, and you'll likely see smoked hams, sausages, and slabs of bacon hanging proudly from the rafters, filling the room with a rich aroma that speaks of time, patience, and skill. Each piece is smoked to perfection, ensuring it remains safe and delicious for months, sometimes even up to a year. But smoking isn't simply about flavor, it's a natural deterrent to bacteria. The combination of heat, smoke, and reduced moisture creates an environment where unwanted microorganisms cannot thrive. The smoking process itself is a delicate balance, almost like a dance. The Amish use specific types of wood, often hickory or applewood, to add particular flavors to the meat. Each wood imparts a unique aroma and taste, subtly enhancing the meat with earthy or sweet notes. Temperature control and timing are everything in this process. Too much smoke, and the meat can become bitter; too little, and it won't be preserved as long. The Amish have this down to a science, passed along from one generation to the next. They know how to find the ideal temperature and smoking duration to achieve a beautifully preserved, flavorful result. It's a family affair, where knowledge is shared over conversations about life, faith, and community. It's not uncommon for children to learn about smoking meats while playing underfoot in their grandparents' kitchens, absorbing this wisdom in an environment that values patience, precision, and tradition. In addition to salt and smoke, the Amish use another surprising ingredient in their preservation toolkit: sugar. Sugar curing adds a delightful twist to their preservation repertoire, combining salt's preservative properties with a touch of sweetness that makes meats like bacon and ham irresistibly tasty. Sugar curing is a relatively straightforward process. The Amish rub a mixture of salt and sugar onto the meat, allowing both ingredients to work in harmony to draw out moisture. The sugar enhances the meat's flavor without overpowering it, offering a unique blend of sweet and savory that brings something extra to every bite. Properly cured, the meat develops a rich, complex flavor that's unlike anything found on supermarket shelves. Sugar-cured meats last just as long as their salt-cured counterparts, making them a delightful staple during the colder months when fresh meat is scarce. This sweet and salty preservation method isn't a modern discovery. Cultures around the world have been using sugar to preserve meats for centuries, long before it became a common sweetener in baked goods and beverages. The Amish, though, have perfected the technique, knowing exactly how much sugar to add to create that signature sweet savory flavor without losing the meat's integrity. Some even add a few unique touches to their sugar cures, incorporating family recipes that might include hints of spices or herbs, adding layers of flavor to their preserved meats. Another powerful preservative the Amish turn to is vinegar. This tangy liquid, with its natural acidity, creates an environment that makes it nearly impossible for bacteria to grow, making it perfect for pickling. The Amish often use vinegar to preserve sausages, fish, and other types of meat, adding a flavor kick that's both bold and refreshing. Vinegar brining, like many Amish preservation methods, is simple yet effective. It's a practice that goes back centuries, used by ancient cultures from Egypt to Rome to preserve foods when fresh supplies were scarce. In an Amish kitchen, vinegar brining is typically done with a blend of spices, herbs, and sometimes a bit of sugar, creating a complex brine that brings out the best in each piece of meat. The vinegar penetrates deeply into the meat, balancing preservation with a taste that adds character to any meal. Watching this process, you can see how much care goes into every step. Each piece of meat is prepared with a thoughtful touch, every spice chosen to complement the vinegar's tang. The Amish know how to balance these elements to create a flavor that's potent but not overpowering. They tailor each batch of brine based on what's being preserved, sometimes adding garlic, dill, or peppercorns to bring out the best in each meat's natural flavors. For the Amish, vinegar is more than a preservative, it's a way to elevate the taste of their food, turning simple ingredients into meals that burst with flavor. Beyond these well-known methods, the Amish have another clever trick up their sleeves: lard. While rendering lard might sound outdated, this technique is an ingenious solution to meat preservation. Once rendered, the lard is poured over cooked meats, creating a thick, airtight layer that keeps out bacteria and locks in flavor. It's almost like a natural form of Tupperware. This layer of lard preserves meat by sealing it off from air and bacteria, allowing it to stay fresh for months in a cool, dry place. But lard is more than just a preservation method. It's also a versatile cooking ingredient, adding depth and richness to a variety of dishes. Rendering lard is a process that requires patience. The fat is cut into small pieces, then heated slowly until it melts, separating into liquid lard and crispy bits called cracklings. The lard is then poured over the meat, creating that protective barrier. For the Amish, this technique reflects a dedication to resourcefulness. Every part of the animal is used, waste is minimized, and the lard itself becomes an integral part of their cooking traditions. It's a technique born of necessity but carried on as an art form, a way of keeping food safe that's both practical and deeply rooted in tradition. If you were to step into an Amish root cellar, you'd see firsthand how these preserved meats are stored. These cool, dark spaces serve as natural refrigerators, maintaining low temperatures that slow down spoilage and extend shelf life. The root cellar is essential to Amish food storage. Not only does it provide a space for vegetables and other perishables, but it's also ideal for keeping cured meats. The Amish carefully construct their root cellars to maintain a constant temperature, allowing air to circulate freely to prevent moisture buildup, which could lead to spoilage. For them, this is more than storage, it's a place of preservation, a testament to the ingenuity of using nature to prolong the life of food without relying on technology. The beauty of root cellars lies in their simplicity. There's no need for refrigeration or complex machinery, just a cool, stable environment that harnesses the natural cooling properties of the earth itself. The Amish understand how to make the most of this space, organizing meats and vegetables in a way that optimizes airflow and prevents rot. It's not uncommon to see shelves lined with potatoes, carrots, apples, and other produce, stored alongside cured meats in a balanced ecosystem that sustains them through the colder months. For the Amish, the root cellar is a vital part of the home, a place where food is kept not just to be eaten, but to be cherished, every piece reflecting the work and care that went into its creation. When winter arrives, the Amish also turn to outdoor freezing as a way to preserve meat. In the colder months, the landscape itself becomes a giant freezer. After butchering season, larger cuts of meat are often hung outside in the frigid air, where they remain safe from spoiling for weeks, sometimes even months. There's something almost poetic about this method. It's as if the Amish are collaborating with nature, using the cold air to sustain their food supply through the winter. To protect the meat from snow and rain, they'll cover it with burlap or breathable material, creating a balance that keeps the meat cold and dry. This outdoor freezing method is particularly effective because extreme cold temperatures don't just preserve meat, they improve it. The freezing process breaks down muscle fibers, naturally tenderizing the meat and enhancing its texture and flavor. As practical as these methods are, the Amish also have a creative approach to making the most of their preserved meats. Drying meat, for instance, is an age-old technique that turns cuts of meat into jerky, which can last for months. Meat is cut into long strips and hung in a warm, dry place, often with just the right balance of airflow and sunlight to draw out moisture without over-drying. This process creates jerky that's chewy, flavorful, and long-lasting, a perfect snack or addition to hearty dishes. For the Amish, dried meat is more than just a preserved food, it's a versatile ingredient that can be rehydrated for soups and stews, turning something as simple as a dried strip of beef into a nourishing meal. In a sense, dried meat is the ultimate multitasker, serving as both a quick snack and a meal ingredient, depending on what's needed. This flexibility is a huge advantage in Amish kitchens, where resourcefulness and creativity go hand in hand. Perhaps the ultimate expression of Amish preservation is pressure canning, a process that seals meat in jars, keeping it safe and delicious for years. By applying high pressure and heat, they create an airtight seal that kills bacteria, ensuring the meat's longevity. Properly canned, Amish meats can last for 3 to 5 years, giving them a level of food security that few modern households achieve. And it's not just about practicality. Canning is an art form in Amish communities, a process that brings families together to share recipes, tips, and stories. One of the more unusual methods the Amish use is pemmican, a mix of dried meat, rendered fat, and sometimes berries. Originally a Native American recipe, pemmican is a high-energy food that can last for years. It's perfect for long-term storage, providing protein and healthy fats in a single, convenient package. For the Amish, pemmican is not just a survival food, it's a testament to their deep connection with nature, their resilience, and their skill in making the most of what they have. Each of these methods, from salt curing to pemmican, demonstrates that the Amish don't need modern appliances to keep their food fresh. Their methods are time-tested, practical, and, in a way, magical. It's impressive how they've perfected the art of food preservation, relying on the natural world rather than the latest gadgets. In a society where convenience often trumps tradition, the Amish offer a refreshing reminder that sometimes the simplest methods are the best. The next time you see a beautifully smoked ham or a jar of pressure-canned stew, remember the care, skill, and tradition that brought it to your table. The Amish have preserved more than just food, they've preserved a way of life that values sustainability, self-sufficiency, and a deep respect for the earth. And in doing so, they've created flavors and experiences that linger long after the last bite.